The Jedi religion and the Force. Most people think the Jedi Order of Star Wars was a fictional order created by George Lucas from his fertile imagination. Actually, Lucas based it on the Jedi, an ancient order of Egyptian priests/warriors who wore hooded robes, carried a staff of power, and guarded the pharaoh. The secret techniques and knowledge of the Force taught to these Egyptian Jedi were passed down from Atlantis by Thoth, aka Hermes, and Mercury, who was one of the priest kings of Atlantis, who sailed to the colonies in Egypt, Peru, and elsewhere before the sinking of Atlantis, in order to preserve the accumulated knowledge and wisdom of Atlantis. But in order to ensure that it would not be misused again, it was kept secret and only revealed to select initiates. In Spiritual Nobility, the Gnostic Richard Duke de Palatine wrote, "The princes and hierophant of the mysteries of the sun in Atlantis were fully determined that the misuse by mankind of the divine wisdom and its terrible powers would never again be allowed, for fear that man might destroy himself. They therefore decreed that only those of the highest moral and spiritual development would be permitted to learn the mysteries of the Most High, learn the mysteries of God. Learn the mysteries. Okay, interesting. Learn the mysteries of the light. Thoth taught divine alchemy. That's a huge part of Atlantean culture, which I'm going to get to here in a second. Thoth taught divine alchemy, which wasn't a technique to change lead into gold, but means of turning the dense human conscious, I should say, which wasn't just a technique to change lead into gold, because you can do it on a physical form too. But that's what we're going to see down here, the lower form of it. But a means of turning the dense human consciousness into the golden consciousness of an enlightened master, a light master, master of light, brotherhood of light. The symbol of alchemy is the caduceus, which Mercury is shown holding in the statues and paintings. It consists of a staff with two intertwining serpents crowned with wings. The staff is the spinal column. The two serpents are the balanced masculine and feminine energies of the Kundalini, and the wings symbolize a higher consciousness that frees the mind once the Kundalini is raised from the base of the spine chakra to the crown chakra. Through this alchemy, a Jedi could awaken the sleeping Kundalini power/force and raise it to the head, where it would manifest as supernatural powers and intuitive Gnostic wisdom. The Digi and the Jedi means serpent. Thus, the Jedi Masters was one who mastered the serpent power. While there is a secret society of Sufis in modern-day Egypt who teach the Jedi techniques, it's virtually impossible for a Westerner to become a member. However, Mark Amura Pinkham teaches that what was passed down to the Knights Templars by Egyptian Jedi in seminars offered by the Internal Order of Gnostic Templars.
Who came first, Thoth or Melchizedek? We are clearly shown that Thoth taught the Atlanteans, but in other places that we read that Melchizedek taught the Shemites, the tribes that later became Israel. Both the knowledge came from Atlantis, and the knowledge from Atlantis, where did that come from? Thoth. I include his name at this point because it is one with which readers of Egyptian history are already familiar. Thoth was an Atlantean of almost pure space lord lineage, which is why he is portrayed with the head of an ibis, a bird which was represented on his family coat of arms, a space flight symbol. Among his many talents and gifts, which not only granted sure guidance to his followers but also benefited the native-born Egyptian, was one which earned him the title of the father of letters. When Thoth introduced a form of writing to the native populace where he and his followers settled, he taught them a simple, much more attractive script, easily absorbed, which he invented especially for them.
Egypt was a worldwide system. It was a worldwide empire. It wasn't just in that little tiny area where they say it is. Our Story of Atlantis. Check this book out. I see nobody reading from this book. It's a great book. Huge drops in it. It is his opinion that traces of the Egyptians of those days are to be sought in the ruined cities of Central America, whose origin has never been determined, nor have been made the basis of reasonable theory. Such a discovery would furnish a substantial basis for a legend of the lost Atlantis. And the theory invests those wonderful ruins with a new interest for antiquarians. The Atlanteans had special abilities. They knew how to work magic or alchemy. It was huge in their practice, and they used it for good. They used it for light. They fell when they started using it for militaristic purposes and using it for selfish purposes. Remember what it said about the Jedi Order. Here we're shown that they're manifesting sickness away. Nobody was sick. It was all in the power of the mind and manifestation, alchemy. That which belonged to the Atlanteans as a nation intellectually and morally was the control of all knowledge except that which belonged to the origin and power of life. This concerns the one alone. Not only are obviously the Shemites, the Israelites, blatantly one of the nations or groups of people that was chosen to pass down Atlantean sacred information, the Essenes were a branch off from them. You go to the Essenes and they know all about the angelic, how to call on the angelic hierarchy. On certain days of the week, they can reverse their blood flow. They can heal themselves instantly, just like the Atlanteans and the Israelites. The concept of as above, so below started with the Atlanteans. Sacred geometry as well. How they work their alchemy right here. Take a screenshot of that, or I can send you a screenshot that should be in the PDF that you can read online. Check it out.
The zodiac sign, the abilities to read them, which is heavy when it comes to Israelites, when it's heavy when it comes to Shemites, when it's heavy when it comes to Essenes. Started with who? Was passed down from who? The zodiac signs were originally instituted by Adam, Seth, and Enoch before the flood. Their meaning was transmitted to Noah, who preserved it according to the Enoch and Hermetic literature on an emerald prism. The Egyptian called Adam's son Seth the good or beneficent spirit, and Seth's descendant Enoch the first Thoth or Hermes. So interesting. Seth's descendant Enoch the first Thoth or Hermes, the builder of the Great Pyramid. It is said that the pharaoh Khufu was a native Egyptian, and he used the literature from Thoth, i.e. of Enoch, to build the Great Pyramid of Giza. He found the knowledge or the whereabouts of these writings of Thoth in the possession of a humble seer of a very advanced age. So again, I'm still on my journey. I'm trying to figure out, like I showed you in the book Redemption of Zion, where it was going through Elijah or Elias, and saying how John the Revelator was the coming of the reincarnation, the second coming of it. And it seems like this repeats itself. There's certain priest of Melchizedek, priest of light, that come down here. By the way, I'm going to get to Shambhala, which is their headquarters. When the Brotherhood of Light comes down here to teach us, whether it be Yahushai, which I've already shown massive evidence that he was over there in the Himalayan mountains and over here in the Americas, learning through sacred schools that this information was being passed out through. But either way, as we see right here, another proof, another witness showing you that the zodiacs came from Atlantis. So we have the Force, alchemy, and now the zodiacs seem to stem from Atlantis. All right, we're going to jump down here to the bottom. The Latter-day Saint, aka the Shemitic American indigenous Negroes, their descendants, the righteous descendants, will be gifted with the information. There's a prophecy that this Egyptian queen wrote about the descendants of Shem, this Egyptian queen, the priesthood of the Egyptians, and the information that was gathered from Mu, from Atlantis, from Lemuria, will be gifted back to the Latter-day Saints. Would that not be the Israelites? From Dr. Doriel here, if we realize that the sons of God were actually the last of the superhuman races that occupied the land at the Antarctic, and even peopled the continents of Atlantis and Lemuria. With the sinking of Atlantis and Lemuria, there were few of those left, and in latter times they did mix with mankind. So as we see here, we have groups of Atlanteans going out, and not just regular day Atlanteans, high priests of Atlantis, high ruling priests, the leaders, the chamber of three, the chamber of seven, the council of seven, the council of three, which you can go and read about with the Atlanteans. It seems like they're branching out and preserving knowledge and other cultures to protect it, and building pyramids. The pyramid, it seems like a great library. It seems like a great library where you store knowledge and information. Where do you have great pyramids around the world? You have them located everywhere in the Americas. Certain pyramids in the Americas. You have them over there you have the one in Giza, which is a huge one. Where else are they hiding these?
The first age of man in the 7 sacred cities. Check this book out. Man has risen, but man has not fallen. The great waves of consciousness rose to great heights and passed on, and their places were taken by souls of lower consciousness who could not carry on the high degree of wisdom and power. They misused it, therefore fell into savagery. In doing so, they lost the knowledge the ancients had, or we might say it was removed from their race by a series of cataclysms. Did that not happen to the Israelites too? The Atlanteans attained a very high state of civilization and reached a point where the great souls who had incarnated in Atlantean bodies passed to another world, and in their places were taken by souls of lesser degree of consciousness, who did not have the capacity or the wisdom to handle the great forces and powers the Atlanteans had.